This is the story of the most notorious patient to reside at the Connecticut General Hospital for the Insane. So this person was not a famous actor or writer or political figure of the time. In fact, if you had passed this person at the local butcher shop or your church or drugstore, you might have said your neighborly howdy-doos and been on your way. This person would have slipped under the radar for sure, if not for their ever-increasing thirst for money. So who is this famous resident of the Connecticut General Hospital for the Insane? Hey everybody, I'm Amy Anamkara and welcome to my channel. So on this channel, I do a lot of different things. One of the things that I do is I read tarot cards and I visit cemeteries and I read cards in cemeteries and I do interviews. I do some videos on energy work. So it's kind of a smorgasbord of different videos based on my interests. Well, before we take a deep dive into the story, you should go ahead and watch my last video on the historic hospital that remains open today and the tale of 8 inmates bound together in death. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And then if you like the video and this video, be sure to hit like and comment and share and follow for more content. Okay, so on to the true story behind the most notorious patient to walk the halls of the Connecticut General Hospital for the Insane. So this award goes to Mrs. Amy Archer Gilligan. So who was Amy Archer Gilligan? Well, to many she was known as Sister Amy, but she was no nun, more like an angel of death. So Amy was actually born on October 31st, Halloween, to James and Mary Martha Dugan, an Irish immigrant family who settled in the small town of Litchfield, Connecticut. The exact year of her birth remains a mystery, but it is believed to be between 1862 and 1873. I say that sometime between because a lot of the public records vary in the year that she was born. Her father was a farmer, and her mother stayed at home with the 10 kids and took care of the home and the family. There does appear to be some mental illness in the family. One brother was committed to a mental institution, and a sister actually plunged to her death. There is little known about Amy's early years. We do know that she did graduate from high school, and she became a teacher. She claims that she attended a private school and was trained as a nurse in Manhattan's Bellevue Hospital, but there's no record to support that claim. So here's where the story gets going here. So on November 26, 1896, Amy marries a much older James Henry Archer, a railway dispatcher from New York City. A year later, she gives birth to a daughter, Mary, perhaps a loving gesture after her own mother. And the 1900 census shows the couple living in East Hartford. A year later, Amy, her husband James, and daughter Mary, they pick up and they moved to Newtown, Connecticut, where they begin caregiving with an elderly man, and his name was John Seymour, in exchange for room and board. When Mr. Seymour dies, Amy and James work out a deal to stay in the house by renting the home from Mr. Seymour's heirs. Amy and her husband use this opportunity to open Sister Amy's nursing home for the elderly, an ingenious move since there were very little places like this set up to care for the elderly. A few years later, in 1907, they leave the Seymour home in Newtown and they purchase a house in Windsor, Connecticut. This new house would be named the Archer Home for the Elderly People and Chronic Invalids, clearly expanding their clientele. So things seem to be going well until James dies on February 11th, 1910, from kidney disease. Luckily, Amy took out an insurance policy just weeks before his death. Surely a blessing that helped keep the home going. Amy was now a widow and left alone to care for her child and the family business. She is also left with a very large, neglected, and unpaid tax bill on the house. So Amy goes to the town and she pleads with the town and explains to the town, throwing her now dead husband under the bus, that she knew nothing about the back taxes from the town and to have mercy on her tragic situation. It's in a letter, and the letter also threatens the reader that she will seek justice if she has to. Well, I'm not sure if the town and Amy came to an agreed amount to pay, but she was able to stay in the home. So now, in walks Michael Gilligan, a wealthy farmer who was quickly taken in by Amy's intoxicating personality and savvy business mind, and was willing to invest in her business. Interesting how he shows up on the scene when Amy is in the throes with the town. Amy marries the 56-year-old widower with 4 sons on November 25th, 1913. 3 months later, Michael is dead. Diagnosis: acute bilious attack. A vague diagnosis for stomach issues. Strange diagnosis for a man with a heart condition. Amy would surely collect on the life insurance and any money gifted through his will. Amy continued to run the nursing home. But then, family members of her patients began to notice an unusual pattern of deaths at the home. They were right to be suspicious. It turns out that between 1907 and 1917, there were 60 deaths, 12 between 1907 and 1910, but things really pick up after her first husband dies. Then it's 48 clients dying between a short amount of time between 1911 and 1916. One family, the Andrews, came rightfully alarmed when their father Franklin, who was described as a healthy man, died suddenly one evening. Upon examination, it was determined that he had died from a gastric ulcer. The family became very concerned when his sister came across some letters pressuring Mr. Andrews for more money. Well, this evidence, in addition to other evidence, revealed a pattern of Amy's residents dying shortly after receiving large sums of money from them. On May 8th, 1916, sweet sister Amy was arrested and charged for the murders of her second husband, Michael, Franklin Andrews, and 3 other patients Amy was caring for. Although she was being charged for the murder of 5, the number of victims may have been upwards of 20 or more. A great deal of effort went into the investigation, and the bodies of Gilligan, Andrews, and 3 other residents were exhumed. After examination, it was found that the actual cause of death was arsenic poisoning. An interesting correlation, since Amy was well known in the town to purchase large amounts of the poison to kill the rats around her property. Evidence also showed that Sister Amy would purchase life insurance policies for her victims and then convince them to name her as the beneficiary. Once that was in place, she would go in for the kill. So what does arsenic poisoning look like? Well, if its intention is to kill, it will be placed in food, which is most likely what happened here. Once it's consumed, the victim will suffer with severe abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. It'll affect their heart rhythm and their breathing, and they may feel pins and needle sensitivity in their hands and feet, and swelling and redness of the skin. There may also be some kind of it's like a garlic smell that comes from their breath and their overall body odor. Arsenic poison brings about a great deal of suffering, and it's just a horrible death. By June 1917, the murder trial of Amy Archer Gilligan versus the state of Connecticut begins. After 4 weeks of testimony and a raging river of evidence, Sister Amy is convicted on all 5 counts of first-degree murder with a sentence of death by way of hanging. She was not to die by the rope, though. Instead, she and her lawyers would appeal the verdict, which would be overturned by a technicality. Amy, an angel of death, would now plead guilty to a lesser charge of second-degree murder, and was sentenced to serve a life sentence in prison. The 1920 census indeed shows that Amy was listed as a prisoner, with her new occupation being listed as laundress. With people still working on her behalf, Amy was declared temporarily insane and was moved from the prison to the Connecticut General Hospital for the Insane, where conditions were much better. Census records show that she remained at this mental institution until her death on April 23, 1962. Because the patient cemetery at the hospital stopped burying residents on the grounds in the 1950s, you won't find her buried there. Amy was actually buried at St. John's Cemetery in Middletown, Connecticut, not far from the place she called home for her last 38 years. So thanks for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it and you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do that, and be sure to like and share and comment and all that good stuff. And I look forward to seeing you back here again. Have a great day.